You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real
Warning, this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. Today, continuing hashtag Justice for Bradley, and I guess this could be part 6 after we dropped the, was it part 6 or part 5, Morgan?
It's 6.
Part 6.
But 5 happened. And
Yep. And so 5 happened, so this is part 6. Now, y'all, I know y'all love and cherish Morgan, right? And Morgan is our own special great monster. But you got to keep Morgan, and from the podcast side, I think Morgan thinks I'm rude to her sometimes, but I'm not, because Morgan has so much going on inside her head. And I warned you ahead of time, Morgan. Y'all, by the way, Miss Morgan Baggage in the house or whatever on the screen if you're watching it. But I warned Morgan ahead of time. I said, you know, you took up this fight. You've been doing this all these years, and you built up this following on TikTok and all that stuff. I said, but this is going to be different. And as we tell Bradley's story, that reaches outside of your TikTok universe, right? And then people are going to start being pissed off, and people are going to start wanting to be involved. And some people will get involved for the right reasons, some people get involved for the wrong reasons. And I was right. Ever since episode 1, it grows and it grows. And I told Morgan after episode 1, I said, watch and see. Episode 2, a week later, and it's another reason I space them out, y'all. It give people time to talk about it and catch up on it, etc. Then episode 3, right? Stirring the pot again. More shit comes out. Episode 4, and then back to back episode 5. Well, you know what? The pot's just about overflowing. So you would think. I spent all day on the phone today with different people on this case, and most of them don't want to be, or we're going to remain anonymous, and some of them will go on the record at some point, and that's fine. But it's a shit show, right, Morgan? It's war.
it is. It's gotten more crazy every time I think, and this has been for a long time. Every time I think it can't get more insane, it gets twice as more insane.
Yeah, well, and we're only getting started. That's the what I was trying to warn you about before we got started. And I actually told Morgan last week, y'all, because I could feel it weighing on her. I said, if you want to quit, you can quit. And I said, absolutely, stop it right now. And she said, no, absolutely not. And I just need to clear my head and stuff like that. And I get that. But if it wasn't for you, this wouldn't be happening. We know that Vernon Parish Sheriff's Office hasn't done dick. And we also know that Bradley didn't deserve to be murdered, right? And this whole story should have been investigated, should have been handled differently. But that's hindsight is 2020. The focus now is to bring all this together. And it's so much more than TikTok, y'all. And the calls and the messages, and I got the tip line number 313 RRC tip, but just as many people called me on my personal cell phone. And of course messages and everything else. And I know you're getting a ton because Morgan will hit me up and be like, "Oh, I got this." I'm like, don't even respond a lot of times because I'm just putting it there till the next time we talk or what have you, because this is all night long. 2:00 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning, during the daytime. Right now, probably. Ooh, I need to turn my ringer off. Right now, probably it's about to happen again. And I just got done talking to two more ladies out. Morgan, you there? Okay, I see you. I just got done talking to two more ladies like minutes before this broadcast, and this earlier today I talked to two separate people before that, and that's not even a quarter of who I have to contact, right? So, but it's going, y'all sharing and doing the hashtag Justice for Bradley is what's going to solve this case, because all these people aren't wrong. All right, I'm not saying all of them are telling the truth or all of them have correct information, but I'm telling you somebody does, and we're going to find out what that is. Morgan?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm ready when you are.
Okay, so what we're going to do, y'all, and I didn't know because I hadn't really planned it out. I know what we ended last time was talking about Austin O'Banion and the information that she gave allegedly to Detective Vance, and he told you in the office, or you find out whatever, that she was there when Bradley was murdered, and they disposed of his body and what have you, and she disclosed this. Evidently, Detective Vance told you that she passed a polygraph on it, and there's another person who was incarcerated with her said that she told her basically the same story except for who picked whom up. Some small details, and I understand that part. But then she's found dead, naked. Tell me we're going to get an Austin O'Banion story today, and that is not to take away from Bradley, because I totally think they're related, 1,000%. But Morgan, I'm just going to let you talk, and then I'll say what I have to say. But I do want you, if you have knowledge, because you have not pre-discussed this, if you have knowledge from whatever sources. Now, y'all, unless Morgan wasn't there, I wasn't there. They were simply repeating what was told to us by other people. All right, and we'll even play a little audio clip of something that somebody else sent in today to Morgan. But during, you can tell all the different versions that you have, Morgan, that you've heard, and et cetera. But during that, I want to know specifically the condition of her body. All right, because y'all, and we're going to tell you, the law enforcement authorities supposedly said she didn't have a scratch on her, and I have a lot to say about that. And I have some things that I know that I can disprove that are rumors and speculation, but we'll get into that after you go on it. But Morgan, I'm talking about everything from clothing to if she had any marks on her body. So you take the floor. What happened? What have you been told? You say names or don't want to say names, whatever. I'm going to shut up, which is rare for me. What have you been told about Austin getting out of jail, and what happens?
I'm gonna like Woody.
That,
Um. So just to rewind for my mind, we ended last episode with Vernon Parish Sheriff's Office, David Vance specifically telling me over the phone there was not a single scratch on Austin O'Banion's body. So I know that Austin's dead at this point of that phone call, and I knew in my gut that what was being told to me just didn't sit right. It just wasn't the truth. And I wondered, like, do I actually have in bold black letters stupid written across my forehead, and is anybody else gonna know what I know? Or my world was spinning, like I was spiraling, and I didn't know what was next. But days go by, and her arrangements were
This is all after Vance
the
tells you
phone.
at some point we have the person that confessed, blah blah blah. Bradley was wearing this wristband and all this, etc. And this is
This
after
is
that.
my
You called him and said Austin O'Banion's dead. It's after your cousin came in and told you in your home while you were cooking dinner, Austin O'Banion's dead. You put it together.
grab.
You called David Vance, and he said, "I'm doing this for the listeners." He said unequivocally, "Yeah, she's dead, but she didn't have a scratch on her."
Exactly. This is that phone call. So I missed days of work. I know that Austin O'Bannon, this girl that I didn't even know, this woman who I had never laid eyes on in my life, was dead, and I'm being lied to that it was an accidental overdose after just telling a story like that. And those days following that phone call with David Vance and confirming that it was Austin O'Banion and that she was dead, and that he called it an unfortunate coincidence and apparent overdose, and that her story died with her. I'm just, I'm not, I'm not well. I'm not doing good, and I missed days of work, and I felt extremely compelled to go to her her funeral, her wake, and it just an urgency. Like I knew I had to be there, and I didn't know how. I didn't know if her family knew who I was. I didn't know if her family knew her story. I didn't know if they knew anything about Bradley. I just knew. I just felt like I had to be there, and I go. And I pulled up. I'm sitting out by myself. I do a lot of things by myself, and I pulled up into the driveway of the church, and I thought to myself, Christian Living Church was a huge, huge church, and I said, my goodness, it's such a big church, why are they having it there? Well, I found out the second I put my blinker on, there were vehicles parked. It's a long driveway all the way to 171, and there were hundreds. There were, and this is not exaggerating, and maybe there was more. When I walked into that church, 300 people inside of that church there for Austin O'Banion and her family. And what do I see as I walk through the sanctuary? I'm crying. I'm losing it. It took me forever to walk in there, and I called my sister and I said, I know I do things alone, but I can't stop crying, and I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I just fell apart. And she said, you're going to have to leave or go in there like that. And that's what I did. And I walked through the sanctuary and I looked towards where the casket was, and it was a closed casket. Immediately, why? Austin was beautiful. So she was such a beautiful girl. Light, I've seen so many pictures, light just beamed from her eyes. Why? If there wasn't a scratch on her body, I thought it right then and there, why would her casket be closed? What's going on? And I had very brief moments with certain members from her family at that funeral. I was informed by one of them, armed up by them, and they know exactly who you are, and it means the world to us that you are here. And I just go on. We don't have contact after that. A lot of time went by. I was trying to be respectful, give them their time. This is not the kind of thing that you push, but I was dying for information and dying to know what they knew. Some of the things that I was hearing, awful rumors. I heard just beat and banged up, unclothed, face down in the trailer park. Um, One thing that I kept hearing was that Austin's tongue was cut out. And with all the rumors that I about Bradley, I didn't focus on it. I wondered if that was true. Um, some of her family members have recently told me that they did receive a phone call from someone who transported Austin's body, and that is what this person told them.
That her tongue was taken out.
That her tongue was cut out.
Now I'm gonna go ahead and address that while it's rolling, and certainly I can't prove it one way or another, but I've talked to several individuals that said that absolutely was not true, and but I'll address the rest of it. But I can't. I don't know if they're right or wrong. But we're going to get into autopsy reports and all that in a minute. So keep going.
One person is a Vernon Parish sheriff, and just for the record, there is no way possible, period, on this earth that I can be connected back to this person who told me this. And like we're saying right now, we don't know if it's true or not, or why this person told me this. But that there was foreign objects in every orifice of Boston. I don't know if there's truth in that.
Okay. Let me tell you this. There's always going to be, and not always, 90% of the time, there's a grain of truth to all the speculation and the rumors, but a lot of it's going to be bullshit. But whoever worked the scene knows what really happened. And I'm going to tell you as a listener, if you're out there and you saw directly what happened, let's say you saw Austin's tongue was actually cut out. You can remain anonymous. Call me, but I talk to different people, and I'm not going to name sources, including law enforcement, etc. But that part wasn't true. Being unclothed, that part is true. And we'll get into the rest of it. I'm not saying that her tongue wasn't. I'm not saying that they didn't do it later on in a nefarious way or whatever. I'm just saying that as of what I know, other than what you've said, is what other people have told me, which is the tongue part. Look, I was a homicide detective for a long time. Motherfucker had his tongue cut out. We knew we had problems, and there's no getting around that. And you're not going to hide a tongue being cut out with a closed casket. When they do an autopsy, they start at the top of your head. They peel off your face. They start by popping the top of your skull off and taking your brain out, and they go down every organ down your body all the way through. Okay, they cut you open, take out everything, weigh it, etc. If her tongue was missing, it should have been on the first autopsy. If the first autopsy was dirty, and I'm not saying it was, and then went to the second autopsy, which I do believe that happened, then certainly the second person, the second pathologist would have noted her tongue is cut out. I also heard that her tattoos were cut off. I don't have anything to prove that. I also have heard that her tattoos were not cut off. But back to it.
I have information that her autopsy, and this is coming from her family, her autopsy was not conducted in Beaumont. It wasn't signed by anyone, period, in Beaumont. They actually waited 7 months to receive any kind of, and they actually had to go and get it from a local doctor 7 months after her death.
Tell me what you've heard from the family. Let's just skip to the meat of the bones. And we know we got all kinds of what I call wild ass speculations. But again, there's some truth in there somewhere. If not all of it, I don't know. I wasn't there. But the family members remaining off the record, and I've been reached out to them by them, and I'm going to do my stuff face to face. But you tell me what you've been told, and y'all, again, this is from the mouth of Morgan Baggett, just like what she's told us about Detective Vance and what have you. Do I think Morgan is lying on no, I don't think she's lying on any of it. And I know I've been reached out to by the same family members. So go ahead, Morgan.
one important thing we need um, very briefly rewind for just a second before Austin's death. One thing occurred that I have to tell about that's so important. Um, Austin O'Banion. I'll just say it and I'll get back into detail. But Austin O'Banion was brought to her home to obtain evidence that she said she went inside of her home and
Hey,
she
stop for a second. Can you get close to your microphone? I know when it cuts out, the video will pick it up later on, but I couldn't hear you. You said Austin O'Banion and it cut out. Go
okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
Austin was brought before her death to her home to obtain evidence that she had, and she arrives at her house with two detectives, one narcotics agent, one detective. As told to me by some of her family members, and she comes out with a cardboard box and she gives it to them and they leave. And later that night, some of her family spoke with Austin in jail and they said, you know what did you plan on getting from the house today? And she kept saying, oh, it was just my shirt. I just needed my shirt. And they said, they're not, what are you talking about? They're not going to let you have that or wear that in jail. What are you talking about? She said, it was just my shirt. I just had to come get my shirt. She kept saying that over and over again. And so,
Let me repeat it in case it doesn't catch up. She's saying that you're saying on the night that she went to jail, her family members told you. I just lost when you moved it. I can't see your camera. The family members told you, and I'd heard this too, that the law enforcement brings her to the residence,
yes,
and she leaves. She leaves with a box, right?
cardboard.
Cardboard box, and then she goes to jail. Correct?
She goes back to jail. They leave with a cardboard box in Austin to a detective and a narcotics agent. And Bird and her talk later that night, and she's saying, you know what, they're she's telling her family, I just had to get my shirt. It was just my shirt, and they said, but they're not going to let you wear that. You know, in jail, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And she just kept saying it. I just had to get my shirt. That's all. It was just my shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And
And this is told to you by the family members. Did they say who the cops were?
they did. They said that it was Ben Burwell and David that brought Austin to her home to obtain evidence.
Detective David Vance
Yes.
and Ben Burwell.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to tell you what I heard, and I haven't told you this yet. And I don't have any way of proving it yet. But then she went to jail. She was on probation or whatever. She was on what we call paper. And she went in for a violation. And when you go in for those, y'all, normally they're going to hold you for like up to 30 days before you see a judge. And then when you go see the judge is going to revoke your, or, you know, maybe give you 30 or 60 days in jail or revoke you and swing you to prison, right? But one thing that does not happen is you do not get a bond because you're on hold already for effing up them letting you out on bond to begin with. I heard that she was out within 5 days.
I don't know if that's true.
Well, and I'm certainly going to look into that. If y'all have information on it, let me know. But I'm going to tell you this: you don't get out in 5 days, and also
Yeah.
detectives don't bring you to your home in the middle of the night to get a cardboard box that has a shirt in it when you're already in jail. That's bullshit. Even if you weren't in jail, even if she was still on the street, they don't bring you in to get a cardboard box with your shirt in it. Do
If you're
speculation on my part is if I'm dealing with someone in a case and they got some serious juice on another issue and they're in for, what 99% of the people are in for is narcotics related stuff, but nothing serious, not an armed robbery or murder or whatever. They're in on whatever, and they want to get out of jail, and they have information, and they give it, and it leads to a homicide arrest. Then I'm gonna help them out any way that I can. I'm not saying this is what happened in Austin's case, but if I'd have been working on Austin's case and she had information, I damn sure would have. I would have made that. She would have got taken care of. Because what's more important, the bigger fish. You want a homicide to be solved rather than just another, person shooting heroin or whatever. You failed your drug test and you're on probation, whatever it may be. Pure speculation. It wasn't there, but it makes common sense.
There's that, potential evidence that I feel like I would bet a lot of things that's not still in the possession of the sheriff's office. Maybe they'll surprise me and surprise us all, and whatever they went and got.
We don't even know what it is. We have no way of knowing what it is, and all they got to say now is, "Oh, well, we took her to get her shirt," and we'd be screwed. Nobody likes a dirty cop, and I'm not throwing shades on these dudes because I don't know what they got, but come on, man. If you taken her, whether she was in jail already or on the way to jail or whatever, to get a shirt in a cardboard box, who carries a shirt in a cardboard box? But that's what she told her family. But you know what? If I was flipping state's evidence, I wouldn't want my family to know either, because that puts them in danger. Not because I'm a shitbird and I just want to lie to them all the time, but I wouldn't want anybody to know. But later on, Morgan Baggett gets told by Detective Vance, according to Morgan, that this person has sang like a canary and passed the polygraph.
Yep.
What does that lead up to? I mean, I'm no mathematician, but I'm not an idiot either. But let's go back to the family. What else has the family told you?
So,
and talk about the autopsies and why there was a need for a second autopsy, etc. Okay.
Austin from the scene was immediately transported to Beaumont.
From the scene of her where she was dead.
From where she was found, she was immediately. And when her family asked, they asked the sheriff, who ID'd her? And he said, we did. They said, we did. We thought it was best. We went ahead and sent her off to Beaumont. And but the papers that they have was signed by a local doctor.
Well, it'd have to be signed by a local coroner. In the state of Louisiana, the coroner didn't used to have to be a medical doctor. It was an elected position, but they changed that law. And if someone in the election that runs for it is a medical doctor and the other person is not, they win it automatically. So it could be either way. But before a body can be taken out of one parish and shipped to anywhere, it's got to be signed that it's dead by whoever it is in the coroner's office. So I get that part, but her body's gone. I'll tell you what I heard, and I don't know if it's true or not, certainly that she was nude. Well, I also heard that she was nude. I heard that from another person she had panties on, just panties on. Another person heard she just had a bra on. I also heard that she had a boot imprint in her chest. And I also heard that her head was smashed in, that she was severely beaten. So I'll just go ahead and throw that out there before you keep going on, before you're going on.
Yeah.
But I also heard that law enforcement told numerous people, and still they're standing by the statement that she didn't have a scratch on her. So I'd be really interested in hearing what the family has to say about that.
There's one person who the family entrusted to view Austin before she was made presentable for her family to see her. There was one person, one individual, someone who they helped raise, who they considered their own blood. And they said that he's a very smart man, and he's very observant. And these are some of the things that he told them. Some of her tattoos were unrecognizable, maybe as if she had been drugged,
Okay.
on her part
That would
of,
fit in. That would fit in with people telling me that they were cut off if you're drugged and their skin rashed. I could get that. See, I told you
yeah,
there's always a little bit of truth in these speculations. But go ahead.
part of her ear, one of her ears, part of the top of her ear was missing. And I don't have exact details on that, As you can imagine, it's probably not the easiest thing in the world for some of her family members to say these things, but
Yeah, and they see. I mean, he's sent in to ID the body of a young lady he's known however long, it's probably his entire life, and he sees. I mean, it's first of all, I was thinking about that today. I think about I'm kind of somewhat desensitized to seeing dead bodies and stuff, and then like when my dad died a couple months ago, and I took him out and everything, but the regular people aren't. And I think about people in prior cases I had to have go in and do that kind of thing, and that's got to fuck with them for life. Especially this is your loved one, and if you see them in a damaged state. I'm talking about cases I have where they got bullet holes in the head and stuff like that, or whatever it may be. But you go in and a piece of the ear is missing, the body. I don't know how much of the body they would have shown. I don't know where her tattoos were, but the tattoos appeared to be scraped or she scraped up or whatever. That's got to be. That's not something that you make up. There's no benefit in making this up. There's no benefit, certainly no benefit in going. So, I don't know. Hold on one second. I don't know what that is. I guess somebody's calling my wife's computer. Give it a second. All right. Certainly, there's no. That person doesn't want to go back and tell her parents that. They asked them to go do this because it would be too tough on them. You don't want to come back out and say all the shit that you saw, right? Ear missing, tats look like they're dragged, and what else?
um, trauma to the top front of her head. As I was speaking with one of her family members, that's something that they actually did right here is
A hand
where
on the head.
just right here, and said one described it as like a soft spot, and one described it as trauma. Bruises, like a larger bruise, like towards the side of her head, but above her eyebrow, above her eye. And just other cuts and scrapes and bruises all over her from head to toe.
And this is told to you by direct family.
Immediate family members, people, just people who loved Austin more than anybody else on this earth. And the crazy thing is, when I told them what David Vance told me, but there wasn't a scratch on her body, that's when they proceeded to tell me they were told the same exact thing, that there wasn't a scratch on her body. It was nothing but an overdose. And thank God they knew better than to just trust them and take their word for it. Why would you send, also, my question is, through all this, why would you send a body from Louisiana, from Vernon Parish to Beaumont? Why?
I could answer that for you. Right now they have a place called Parish Forensics. It's in Lafayette or Broussard, and they do it for all the autopsies for like 40 something parishes. Most parishes do not have the ability to do autopsies. The crime lab, not the crime lab, in Baton Rouge City, they have the ability to do autopsies. New Orleans or Jefferson Parish, they have the ability to do autopsies. A lot the surrounding parishes will ship their bodies there. Anybody that's suspect to the local, that's where the pathologists are, That's where they do sometimes 8, 9, 10 a day autopsies. A lot of them will be overdose, but some of them are murders. Last one I went into, and that they were used to be a sponsor of mine, Parish Forensics did. The last one I went in, the cops had shot this guy like 17 times, and but it doesn't matter. Before they were there, you would ship the body to whatever would be closest, and I can only say that would be closest because I don't think Calcasieu has one, and I also know that when Courtney Coco, whose cold case we solved on Real Life Real Crime, 18 years old, or I solved, her body was done by the pathologist in Winnie, Texas. And that's the only reason I would say that they would do that is after they signed off whoever the coroner be, that might have been the closest place. I don't know. But you're right. I mean, I'm speculating on that as that to be in the reason. But from my point, otherwise there is no reason. Ship her to Baton Rouge. Okay, how far is Beaumont? Is what, an hour from Lake Charles? Less than an hour? And how far is that from you? Or from where she was found? Where she was in?
2 or 3 hours
Where was she found at?
in Anacoca.
And
So
how
it would
far?
be 2 or 3
Okay.
hours.
All right. Well, I don't know. That's speculation. But they ship her to there. They see all the injuries. One of them does the hand on the head. The other one calls it trauma, what have you. Obviously, they were told in, I don't know if we said this before in another episode, weren't they told by the sheriff themselves, Sam Kraft,
Yes.
that she didn't have no injuries?
Yeah, it was told to me that he even made this crazy comment about, I don't know, Woody.
Well, you go ahead and say it. You're going to say about the mafia or about about the Mexican mafia or cartels.
They're complaining that that it was just nothing but an overdose, and the cartel didn't have nothing to do with it. And they, as they're telling me this, as the family's telling me this, they're like, hadn't nobody said nothing about no cartel or anything like that. Like, why would he just feel the need to throw that information in there? And they were really confused and flabbergasted by that.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that the family's telling the truth. And again, Morgan and I weren't there. This is coming from them. But so
Wonderful and honest people.
I don't doubt it. I heard her families are super upstanding citizens and everything else. Talked to a lot of. Nobody's ever told me anything bad about her family. Let me play something real quick, Morgan, and this is going to give y'all an idea of the breadth of scope, and we're going to get right back into it. The idea. Well, I tell you what, let's go back to the autopsy stuff and the family stuff, and I'll play this at the end because we're going to have to do more than one episode on Austin, obviously. So her body gets shipped to Beaumont. All right, and for y'all that lifers are listening, that's just across the Texas line, maybe 30 minutes. So it's the first major city you come to, or the biggest city you come to when you driving west on Interstate 10 from the state of Louisiana. And so they sent to Beaumont, and autopsy is done. Why does the family have a second? Why do they request a second autopsy?
I'm not super positive about that part, or if they did.
Or you don't know if they did, because I've got like 5 different people that said there are 2 different autopsies done. And then again, I'm gonna talk to them in person one day. Hopefully, they'll talk to me. And I'm not trying to throw in the y'all lifers that know me. I don't ever try to disrespect or to do anything to glorify these violent crimes because you don't have to. And I believe in the victims, and otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here doing this right now. And now Austin Abanion is all in the middle of where is Bradley, right? And for obvious reasons, because that's where the investigation led. So you don't know personally. The family didn't tell you personally if they had a second autopsy conducted?
No, I don't. I don't something that we went into detail about. I do know that there are 2 separate reports, but
All
I
right.
do know why or where
All right.
the.
So you tell me what you know about all that. Okay.
I know that I saw two different reports that came from two different places,
Do
and
both, one being Beaumont, the other one being where?
probably Vernon Parish, and one specifically was signed by a local doctor here.
All right. So it may not have been two autopsies. It may have been she was autopsied in Beaumont, and they sent the findings, and the local guy signs off on whatever.
One thing specifically that her family kept mentioning was that Austin had psoriasis, and she had it, either psoriasis or eczema all of her whole life, and it was continuous. It never just completely clear up, and they talked about the fact that they never mentioned anything about Austin's skin condition. That was nowhere on either one of the reports, and for whatever reason, that was very important to them, and it bugged them because that's one. I think that's one of the reasons why they felt like it was inaccurate. Like,
Yeah. I hate to come back against them on that, but I can tell you the autopsies determine the cause of death, and those that wouldn't have caused her death. They may have seen it, they may have made a note, and it never even made the report. I've seen 1,000 of them. They literally will say that this organ weighs X amount. It's standard per human bodies. They might notice that she has eczema. They might have said it on a tape or something, but it didn't contribute to her death. An autopsy is a search by a medical professional that's trained in death to determine the cause of death. If you can't determine it, to eliminate other factors to such a reasonable degree that you come down to like it's asphyxiation, but the neck bone wasn't broken because everything else is eliminated and the body's too decomposed. So I understand that bothers them. I mean, it would bother me too as a father. But who's to say? I'm saying Vance and them on the other side to be like, "Oh, that's stupid," ha ha, laughing. But I get it. The family's concerns should be addressed. What else did the family tell you about the difference in the reports or why they thought there was two reports? Anything else that they told you besides what's glaringly obvious is she had trauma, and she had noticeable trauma.
They just told me that, they don't understand why she was sent to Beaumont, yet they have nothing from Beaumont with Beaumont's signature. There's nothing there.
But you saw
They don't
two reports. What was it? What's the other
get.
one?
I basically saw. I didn't read them. It was kind of a chaotic time. They're very nervous, very nervous. I just know that I physically got to see like the front two pages of two different reports that they say they got from two different places, and I, you're saying something that's making me wonder because each one of them were only a couple, a few pages long. Like if they're weighing every organ and going in such depth as that, these reports that I saw should have been a whole lot longer.
I've never seen one that was 2 pages long. Okay, unless it really a real overdose, and what they do on that is nowadays they do it on the scene. And when I started working dead bodies, everybody, you had to go on all the deaths, and if it ended up being natural causes, like one little girl I had was 9 months pregnant and looked like a homicide. It turned up just being embolism hit her heart, but see, that's what that doctor is there for. I also had cases that looked like they were natural. They ended up being homicides, but that's what that process is there for. But since the opiates or the downers like heroin, so first was oxys, right? And then nobody could afford to buy them. They used to go doctor shopping, et cetera, and they'd come back and everybody was ODing on them because they were taking too much. And what it does is it relaxes you and it's time extended. So it makes you feel so good, but you think you get higher and you take more, and ultimately you relax so much that you forget to breathe. Well, then they shut down the big pharma side, the oxy side, so heroin now is the big problem, right? And fentanyl. And it got to the point where you can actually whoever responds to the scene, the coroner, whoever the assistant coroner it is, they could take a big syringe and stick it into the bladder through the skin on the scene. And we used to have to wait on autopsies or go to the autopsies. And they can stick it all the way through, take it out, and put that sample on a board right there, and it'll tell you this. It's full of this. And now Paris Forensics has just, and it wouldn't have been on this case, but they have a machine now that can tell on the scene the qualitative and the quantitative amount. Well, back then, it just used to be able to tell you they had all of this in their system, and then you had to send it to the autopsy. The autopsy would draw the blood. Like in Courtney Coco's case, the body was so decomposed, the only place they could get a viable blood sample was from the tissues that remained in her spleen. But they take that blood and they send it off, and they tell you how much of something that you had in your system. That is the amount that would have killed you. Okay, so now I'm not saying they did this, but on Austin's case, if they took her in, let's say they tested and say, okay, she's got XYZ in her system, we need to send her in, have it done, and send it off. And if the sample comes back and says she had 1,000 mil, however much heroin or fentanyl it takes to kill you in your system, that would have been another probable deal. But the thing being is we don't know. And not a 2-pager, I can tell you that, unless the 2 pages.
At all, Woody, the 2 major comments I have on it all is, number 1, period. They told me, and they told Austin O'Banion's family that there wasn't a scratch on her body,
Right?
And died.
Right.
And number 2, she didn't overdose herself. She didn't kill herself. It wasn't accidental. She did not do that to herself. Not after telling a story like she told, and nobody until the day I do die will ever convince me otherwise.
Right.
Unless you show me facts in my face, you don't tell a story like that and then accidentally overdose after being a 20-year drug addict. And her father that himself at the funeral. He said, "Do you think I believe my daughter, an addict of 20 years, overdosed? Not for a second."
Wow, that's powerful. And what I was saying about autopsies and all that, I'm not discrediting what you're saying. I'm just saying a plausible alternative, right? But you're right. And let's say I want to talk about that real quick, and then we're going to end today's episode with this. And I want y'all to think on it. And the Austin O'Banion, I didn't know who she was. I'd never seen a picture of her. Now I know pretty much everything about the young lady, right? But as these episodes drop, because as they drop, more people talk, and holy shit, go ahead.
It's about what a former deputy of VPSO told me about Austin. He said him and Austin helped each other out a lot. And he said every single thing that Austin O'Banion ever told me always turned out to be the absolute truth.
I've heard the same thing. And then just because you're a doper doesn't mean you're a liar. Okay. And matter of fact, I had a lot of great, what I call, and so I shouldn't say that, but great dopers who were my best confidential informants because they told the truth. And I was able to verify the truth. But back to it. Austin O'Banion, y'all, come on, man. She is found, and I won't know until I see the autopsy reports or the actual police report or whatever. She is found, I hear, with just panties on, I hear with just a bra on, then I hear with nothing on. But the one thing I definitely heard is she had trauma. And I've heard it from a lot of sources. You heard it from the horse's mouth, being her family, right?
Yes.
But you also heard, and I heard it, and I'm going to play this next thing for y'all, and we're going to end today's episode, only because I want y'all to keep thinking about it. And let me say this too. This has everything to do with Bradley. I took on Bradley's case. I didn't take on Austin O'Banion's case, but if we
turned into that.
But her being in it, if you can't, I don't believe you're going to solve one without solving the other one in this one. And so here we are talking about Austin O'Banion, but y'all continue to hashtag justice for Bradley. And a lot of you already are doing hashtag Justice Bradley and hashtag Justice for AO. Do it however you want to, but continue to do it. It's working. And look, if Morgan had any inkling, she thinks I'm not saying this in an ugly way, but you think that I'm just ignoring you and I'm not working and I'm not doing things. I do a TikTok, I'm on the tractor, shit like that. You have no idea the shit that I'm doing on this. But the thing being is I can't tell Morgan a quarter of the shit that I get because I have to remain somewhat objective, right? But Austin O'Banion, I'm gonna tell you what, everything I got said trauma, 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 and I know I got information from people who were actually supposedly is their property, it's their shit, and where she was, okay, and they heard the commotion and the knocking on the door. I'm not going to go into all of it, but you know what? We'll go into it on the next episode because I'm still waiting on actually some more phone calls today. But also the fact that you were telling me you were told by Detective Vance she had no trauma. You're telling me the dad said he's told by the sheriff and whomever else no trauma. The family member went in and saw her. She's missing a piece of her ear. Looks like her head has a soft spot. To me, that means caved in. But they did the indication. Tats look like they're drugged or whatever. She definitely had trauma, according to these people. Correct? According to the people I talked to, she had trauma. According to the people you talk to, including family members. These aren't people who are trying to get famous. I'm not giving their names. I'm not paying them any money. But y'all, I'm going to play this. And next week, I want you to tune in and listen because we're going to go deeper into Austin O'Banion and then more on Bradley. And if you listen to the last episode, you put one and one together and get two as to why Austin would be dead. And also why, if it's true, that she got out of jail within 5 days on a probation violation. You're already in for violating. They're going to swing you for something. That's what we call it in law enforcement. But I'm going out on the limb and standing with the fact that she definitely had injuries. But I really want to see the autopsy reports because the injury is going to be documented. They will have it on the autopsy report. They have a picture of the body. They will show you, they will circle and write in areas of where damages are, measurements of the damages, pictures of the damages, everything. I don't care if it's a little hunk out of your ear. They're measuring that motherfucker and they're taking pictures of it. They're going to put a ruler there for measurements. All this is documented. Autopsies happen for a reason.
I want to believe that, Woody.
Okay.
I'm so simple. How far does the corruption go?
Well, if there's corruption, we certainly plan on finding it out. How about that? And I can tell you this: there's some fucking idiocy going on. You know what? Let's say this: I've been reached out from everyone, from probably someone who's really the devil in disguise, all the way up to retired law enforcement. And you don't know about this, Morgan. I'm talking about person I knew from when I was in law enforcement and retired and decorated out the ass and everything else over there about this case. Oh, it's coming, and we're coming for you. Now, this is one here is going to be more in the middle because I'm about to play this for you and listen to this girl's statement, okay? And then we're going to end the episode. But being in the middle meaning that she wasn't there, she didn't see it directly, but she's getting this from another party who got it from another party. But when you hear it, you'll understand. And I'm going to play it now. It's about 4 minutes, y'all.
On August 2nd, 2023, early afternoon, 2:30 or 3 o'clock or so, I was at Jean's funeral home doing the makeup of a family friend. I was there doing her hair and makeup for her funeral and was sitting in the embalming room with an employee, and we were just making small talk. The whole embalming process interests me a lot, so I was asking what everything was and trying to make him not feel weird because I was there because I was not uncomfortable at all. I have had the honor to do hair and makeup for a lot of close family friends in the past. So I just wanted to make him feel more comfortable because I wasn't used to doing that kind of stuff. And I honestly really am interested in the whole process. So I was asking him a bunch of different questions, like what was like the worst case you've ever been on, or what, just anything that stuck out in his past doing, funeral home work. So, just to kind of take the load off of having a body in front of us that was obviously very near and dear to my heart. So we were sitting there just talking, and he said probably one of the worst things he had heard about, but not that he had personally had, like he wasn't involved with the case. Like he didn't go and pick up the body or anything, but was the death of Austin O'Banion. And I said, wait, that name sounds so familiar. And he said, I don't personally know her, but I think she's from the Sandy Hill area or Pickering or somewhere around in there. And I said, I'm sure if I saw her, I'm sure I would know who she was. So I looked her up on Facebook and then recognized her immediately. And I said, yes, I've seen her a lot. I don't know her personally. And he said, yeah, she just apparently passed away from an overdose. And I said, when? And he said, just recently. I don't remember exactly what date Austin passed away on, but he said that she had apparently OD'd. And I said, well, do you know what happened? And he said, I really don't. I know she was involved in drugs, but I thought that she had gotten clean. And I kind of had known that previous information, but he said apparently she didn't have any clothes on. And I was like, what? And he said that's what stuck out to me, was that when she was found, she had no clothes on. And apparently what he was told was that she was in a trailer park or something and had been banging on this old man's door, and he thought it was like wild cats or, something out on the porch fighting due to the amount of noise and probably crying or screaming for help. But apparently she was so bad off on whatever she was. She had bashed her face and head in on an electric pole. And
Woody?
I was obviously very shocked.
Patreon Convicts, you're going to get your commercial-free early release as always. And we're running a day late this week. Sorry about that. Shit happens, and it is what it is. But I love you, Morgan. Thank you so much. And lifers, everybody that's listening, calling you tips. I don't care how small you think it is. It could be whatever. I will look at it, okay? And when I got to put all these pieces together, and it's going to get done. We're going to put them together. Then what's David Vance going to say then? Where's your cliffhanger at now, David Vance? And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down.
have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better
have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?